This is CJSW's Municipal Election Coverage, your audio guide to Calgary's 2025 election. This series gives you interviews with candidates running for office, exploring the people, policies, and issues that will shape Calgary's future. We're broadcasting from CJSW 90.9 FM, located at the University of Calgary, on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. Before we begin, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Today, we are venturing through Calgary's north-central area. Stretching across both sides of Deerfoot Trail, Ward 3 is bordered by major roads like Stony Trail to the north and Beddington Trail to the south. A mix of long-established communities from the 90s and communities still under development today, Ward 3 is an image of urban space in Calgary. Issues among Ward 3 include improving transit accessibility and road improvements, as well as densification and overcrowded schools. Communities included in Ward 3 are Carrington, Country Hills Village, Coventry Hills, Harvest Hills, Hanson Ranch, Hidden Valley, Keystone Hills, Lewisburg, Livingston, MacEwan Glen, Panorama Hills, and Sandstone Valley. We went directly to citizens of Ward 3 to ask them what they're feeling this election season.
Yeah, I really like it. I live just by Stony Trail, so it's a very easy just exit on a Stony Trail. It can get literally anywhere. Make the rent cheaper, but I think that's probably what everyone says. Yeah. And that's not a Panorama issue, that's a everything is expensive issue. Yeah.
The houses are being built really close together. And so because they're multifamily homes, like Northeast has a lot of multifamily homes, the parking space is atrocious. One house has 6 cars, right? And so being a little bit I feel like, I'm not, city zoning, whatever, that's fine. But being cognizant of where cars are supposed to be parked, especially for when you're cleaning the city, when they do cleanings, we just get nowadays, at least for the past 2 years, cars are just left. People just accept the ticket because where else are you going to park, right?
Now that we've heard what's on the minds of Ward 3 residents, let's turn to the people hoping to represent them. We reached out to nominated candidates and trustees running in the 2025 general election to participate in this podcast. The following interviews feature only those candidates who responded and were available to participate within our production timeline. To ensure consistency, we selected about 1 minute of each candidate's response to include in this episode. The audio is presented unedited, and we've aimed to fairly represent each participant's message and voice. We remain committed to providing space for all voices and encourage voters to learn more about every candidate by visiting electionscalgary.ca. Jasmine Mian, the youngest woman to ever sit on Calgary's council, was elected to represent Ward 3 in 2021. After a council meeting in January, Mian announced she would not seek re-election this year. A CBC article by Andrew Jeffrey reveals that Mian was overall disheartened by the politics of city council, and she disagreed with the addition of municipal parties this year. Without an incumbent candidate in the running for the third election in a row, there are some new faces in the race for Ward 3. Now, it's time to hear from the candidates themselves. We asked each of them the same set of questions to help you compare their priorities, values, and vision for Ward 3. On social services. What do you believe is the city's role in supporting vulnerable Calgarians through social services such as mental health support and harm reduction? From independent candidate Siraj Shah.
Social services-wise, the City of Calgary has a very, very critical role in actually providing those services. And really what I feel is that most of our social services have been very, very reactive in terms of actually solving problems. We've been reacting to issues across the board, whether it's homelessness, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's any really issue that we face within our communities. We've been very, very reactive in trying to solve some of those issues rather than having a more active approach. And so, what I feel, and this is one of the key pieces of my platform, just looking at affordability as a whole, whole, is understanding first and foremost what are the barriers in Calgarians even accessing some of those social services that they actually need. For example, what we have is that we have police officers who are often taking care of not just actual crimes but also mental health issues who are taken care of, and often being on the front lines, they're acting like social workers in many different ways, and it's something that we need to work towards preventing actively.
From independent candidate Andrew Ewell.
I think there's a lot of good partners with the City of Calgary, and I think it's up to the city to support the groups that are doing good work. The drop-in center, the mustard seed, they're all boots on the ground organizations that are doing in the community, doing the work, and it's the job of the City Council to help support partner groups like that. I think other groups like Alpha are also Alpha House are also out in the community doing the really important work of caring for every vulnerable Calgarian in our city. So I think it's the job of the city to make sure that we are helping those partner groups.
Running with the Calgary Party, Atul Chauhan.
Well, I believe city has the most important role to provide social services when it comes to harm reduction, mental health support, and de-addiction services. If I have a look at the current situation in Calgary, I would say we are not having enough support services for vulnerable population. There are too many people who are looking for support, but they are not getting the support they actually need in the required time frame. So we need to actually work on reducing the wait times and provide better services so that every Calgarian can feel safe, secure, and happy living in Calgary.
From independent candidate Rajesh Angral.
I think it's very much important, and social services including mental health and housing, affordable housing, so that youth is what I learned from my past experience working with the provincial government and all. Like we need out of 2 students in University of Calgary itself, like maybe they were suffering with the mental stress and all these things. So I think we need to focus more on those things. And these are the same things happening outside of the Calgary as well. So people are suffering with the mental traumas, and even I was promoting mental health issues, I think, raised by the City of Calgary during my interviews in the past. So I know you guys are doing a wonderful job as well. And definitely as a city councillor, if I will be there, I will love to promote more and more work on the mental health.
From independent candidate Danny Ng.
I think that's very, very crucial. Mental, the vulnerable, and affordability. That is something that we as Calgarians should be looking at all levels. Especially mental health. Mental health is very important because that affects everything that you do. And, programs that are the social services that are out there, they should be providing these services. One of the things that I've done in the past is with Dragon Boat in the community. And what we did was we bring in some organizations. For example, one is Kids Cancer. Kids Cancer comes in. They bring in the parents and they paddle for the weekend. Why does Kid Cancer paddle for the weekend? Bring the parents to come in for a weekend? It's because they want to give a mental break to the parents that are dealing with terminal cancer with their kids. So it's very important that they get a break. And that mental break means so much. So something like that is crucial for mental health.
On affordable housing, what specific policies or initiatives would you support to improve housing affordability and accessibility in Calgary? From Siraj Shah.
Right? Oftentimes we're looking at just non-market housing for folks who aren't really in the rental market, who aren't really in the market as a whole, and we're looking at solutions for them, but we're not really looking at for solutions for the average Calgarian who has a good income, has a good job, is looking for something, but doesn't really know which direction to head. Rent is still slightly unaffordable. They're still living paycheck to paycheck. They want to get into their first house, but they don't know what to do exactly to get there. And so that's kind of where we'd work for first of all more dense housing as a whole, but also working with developers so that way we can align solutions that provide what we call the missing middle in terms of housing, where we provide solutions that are large enough for families but also affordable enough for families to get into without needing to access or go through loopholes to access social support. So that's kind of generally speaking what my take on affordable housing would be. Is it's a very, very critical issue that we have to address, and the city has more of a role than we think.
From Andrew Ewell.
That's kind of a unique one for us here in Ward 3 is because there is so much housing going into our area because we are on the fringe of the city. We want to make sure that we make affordable housing actually affordable. So that's going to be high. It's one of my top priorities is transit. So, and that's really comes down to a lot of people in our community are very dependent on the transit system. And so my feeling at the doors is we really need to make sure that transportation is part of that affordable housing conversation.
From Atul Chauhan.
Housing is my campaign's top priority. I would say we need to have a strategy to aggressively increase the supply by removing bureaucratic barriers, providing a variety of housing types, promoting a variety of housing types across the city. And we need to make housing the first priority by aligning every department's work under a unified housing approach. As a Calgary Party candidate, we are working on a 3-3-1 framework where we are talking about 3 days approval for home renovations, 3 weeks for single-family homes, 3 months for mid-rise and multifamily projects, and 1 year for large-scale developments. I would also encourage gentle density like semi-detached homes and fourplexes where it is feasible to have that kind of rezoning. Right now, if we look at the numbers, 100,000 new people are moving to Calgary annually. But right now, we are only having 300 affordable housing units built annually. So we need to work more, have more housing. It's a big crisis going on. We need to solve it as a top priority.
From Rajesh Angral.
Yeah, actually, affordability is affordable homes because in Ward 3, we recently came up with a plan of Netto Sinipi, where we are planning to develop a 234 acres of land. Earlier, it used to be only commercial land under the Aurora business plan, but now with the new project and planning, it's coming under the mixed use of the land, some commercial, some residential. So under the commercial, we will be having a 5,700 jobs, whereas with the housing, there will be 7,300 more new homes, including the affordable homes. So I will be making sure we have more and more affordable homes there, and then we will ask the city to release more city spaces so that we can create more affordable homes. And recently, maybe Government of Canada is also working so that we will be having so far Calgary is one of the leading city in the homes building, and I believe I will be contributing to that instead of stopping that, so that we have more affordable homes for the young Calgarians and especially to Ward 3 Calgarians as well.
From Danny Ing.
Housing affordability, I mean, there's AISH, for people, but, that needs more funding. People that are on AISH that are renting, for example, one of the people that live in Ward 3 has communicated to me that her daughter is not making a lot. It's only $1,900 and rent is $1,500. So something like that, how can you live $500 a month, right? So I would, advocate to try to get more money, in their hands with a program like that. But that's, is that the responsibility of the city? No, it's probably the province, right? There are other programs that are in the city that could probably also help, right? So.
On transportation, what is your vision for improving traffic flow and public transit in your ward and across the city? From Siraj Shah.
Excellent. So, transit is another one of the key pillars of my platform as a whole. One of the things that we've seen is North Central Calgary has been ignored from a transit perspective across the board, oftentimes as a consequence of political debate, where whether it's a provincial or federal or even municipal government has not really seen developing transit in North Calgary as a key priority. Green Line is a prime example of that, where we've been promised an LRT for the last 30 years up into North Central Calgary, and this is probably the oldest area of the city that doesn't have access at all to LRT across the board. And so this is where I would advocate for a few for one very specific thing, and this is slightly more unique than my other competitors who have been advocating for the Green Line across the board, which I'm in favor of. But what I would argue is that it is more beneficial for us to argue for to call for a new alignment into North Central Calgary. And specifically, what I would advocate for is an alignment from, first of all, the airport to North Point, which is one of our bus terminals, and then from North Point all the way to downtown as a long-term piece that we can look at.
From Andrew Ewell.
I think a fresh look at the North Central transit crisis, that I'm calling it, is imperative in this next council, because we can't wait 50 years to have Green Line solve this problem. We need to solve it right now with proper BRT up Center Street. Right now, there has been some improvements, but it's mainly just been longer stations and improvements on stations, which is great, but it doesn't really improve the capacity issue that we have or the timing issue we have up Center Street. So we need dedicated lanes. We need actual real solutions for North Central Calgary, and amplification of the Green Line schedule to come actually in our lifetime. It really doesn't feel like it for me, and I've been advocating for close to a decade to get Green Line, and it was just this past year that really put the nail in the coffin for me, that I will probably be dead before it reaches my community.
From Atul Chauhan.
We need bold investment in modern, reliable, and safe transit system. For my campaign, my key policy is, right now I'm focusing on pushing for building the entire Green Line. I am strongly advocating for building the full Green Line from north to south, including the downtown tunnel and connecting the airport to rail. In my ward, I would say I'm focusing on improving transit services. If I'm in council, I will try to increase the service frequency. There is a lot of overcrowding and overloading in the buses. We need to have more routes and more buses. We need to enhance the rider experience by improving pathways, signage, and secure bike parking near the transit stations. There are many areas which are still relying on on-demand transit service. We need to have a better connectivity for them. We need to have permanent fixed routes for those communities. And transit is definitely one of the top priorities I'm focusing on.
From Rajesh Angral.
Yeah, right now it's very bad over there in the Ward 3. Basically, it's you can say, compared to Calgary, we are not in a very good shape, because when I'm going to door knocking, people are struggling with they have to wait for too long to go. Either they have to come to because my wife using almost every day transit come to downtown. But it's so hectic, busy, and in university also I have seen when I'm passing from here, so all the time jam is there. We need to use more transportation. Basically, LRT, which is stopped. Basically, Green Line I was expecting to be become alive again, and for that, because I have a previous experience working with the provincial and federal parties, so I will try to make sure we have a better option to bring the Green Line back into Calgary North, so that everyone from the Calgary North can have accessibility of the safer transit going to the other universities or the downtown.
From Danny Ing.
But maybe what we need to do, because the green line's never going to get built. It's never going to get built. So what we need to do is think outside the box. And the Alberta government and through other private corporations, they're planning or put a proposal in for a heavy rail system or passenger rail system from Edmonton to Calgary. And they might put stops in Alberta, or Airdrie, and then at the airport. So what we could do is work, if that goes, which would probably be before the green line, we would work with Calgary Transit and have our residents and bus routes for those residents go to the, let's say, Airdrie stop or the airport, and they take a bus to those stops and then jump on the train, and then that one stop from the airport to downtown will take 10 minutes or less than that, and that would be one of the biggest solutions to try to advocate for.
On public safety, how would you balance community safety with calls for accountability and reform in our police, fire, and emergency services? From Siraj Shah.
At the end of the day, the police as a whole, in particular, and often emergency services as a consequence, become frontline firefighters, if you will, when it comes to the mental health crisis, when it comes to the addiction crisis, when it comes to all of these issues that we face across the board. And so that's where I say is I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of defunding or reducing funding for the police as a whole. But what I will say is that it is very critical for us to understand and to reallocate the priorities and understanding what can we actually do to prevent some of those things. And that's where community initiatives have a very critical role in actually accessing those social services, making sure that our organizations who have a mandate to serve Calgarians as a whole are actually doing the work to serve Calgarians rather than taking cuts from their paychecks and so on. We actually need to do a little bit more work in terms of increasing funding for some of those social services so our police officers are not frontline mental health workers.
From Andrew Ewell.
Our Northern Hills fire station was left without a ladder truck because there's not enough resources to have a ladder truck in the Northern Hills. And so making sure that our safety services have the tools they need is really going to be important for me, especially things like a ladder truck. We do have a lot of new condos, wood-built condos in Northern Hills, and so having a ladder truck will be very important for fighting a fire if one of those buildings caught fire. So I think that aspect of safety is really important. So it's really about building community, making people feel more safe, and being more communicative with what's going on in our communities. To make people feel safe, but also making sure that we have the tools to make our communities safe are big priorities for me.
From Atul Chauhan.
We are taking safety and policing again as the top agenda in my campaign. When it comes to safety, I'll split it into two things. One is public safety, the second is transit safety. So when it comes to public safety, we are having a lot more increased crime rate in Calgary at the moment. And my take is, we need to have more boots on the ground. We need to have a very proactive approach for strong enforcement with compassionate root cause solutions and proactive infrastructure design for safer communities. We need to have more patrolling by police. We need to have safer streets by design. We need to restore automated enforcement when it comes to traffic thing. We need to have a housing first strategy, and we need to address the social disorder. We need to reform municipal bylaws to ban open drug use policy at the moment immediately, while ensuring enforcement is paired with immediate outreach to housing and health services.
From Rajesh Angral.
Yes, safety is very much important, and we need to educate more and more to our people. And safety is not only just safety. Basically, these organizations like police, fire, and these people will be controlling. We need to learn more about the cause of behind the safety. Mental health is one of the reason. Affordability is another one reason, because people are not feeling affordable, and due to mental stress they go out and they act weirdly to the other people, and they try to attack other people, those kind of things. And drug use and abuse, basically you have these kind of things are also contributing into safety of our Calgarians. And I think we need to work on those things altogether, including the social services as well as our policing and other departments, so that we can control we can make sure like safety is the utmost prime focus for all of us.
From Danny Ing.
Well, one of the things for safety especially, is working with the community and listening to the families that live in the area. One of the things that the people that live there they know if the street is safe or not. Lights are missing. So we have a 311, the city has a 311 program, and people should be using that to communicate these issues. One of the residents that I heard, there was, a speed zones, right? Or people speeding through the streets. We need to, put dampening type of road structures to slow down people that way. But before we can, do things like that, we need to listen to the residents of where these areas, can be identified. And then once we get that, then we can fix that.
On environment. How would you approach environmental sustainability in Calgary, particularly around land development, waste management, and water conservation? From Siraj Shah.
Excellent. So environmental, we have a very, very critical role to preserve just the simple fact that Calgary is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And we have a very, very critical duty of ensuring that we take care of really our home at the end of the day. And this is kind of where when it comes to areas of water conservation and housing or land development or anything else, one of the key roles of a city councilor is to just simply be a land manager, is to understand what is going on within a particular area and manage some of those things. And so that's kind of one of those things that, with environmental being such a key priority, not just in my own life, but also across the board, we want to ensure that parks that we have, certain corridors are preserved. For example, I'm very in support of the Nose Creek corridor that we have in north central Calgary in Ward 3 of being preserved as something that we can keep as a testament for our future generations, as something that has a very, very significant value. Beyond that, it's just continuing to implement what the city has already put in place, while also kind of being a little bit more active in ensuring that some of those corridors, some of those parks, some of those natural areas that we do have within the Ward 3 area are preserved in a way that allows us to have a strong, sustainable future. And
from Andrew Ewell.
Yeah, this kind of just came up on me over the last 3 years. I started the Nose Creek Preservation Society in 2022. In Ward 3 we have Nose Creek and West Nose Creek that kind of cradle the Ward 3 area, and this housing crisis we have, there's a tendency to go overboard, and so I think we have to really be smart about our development on green space, because once you develop on green space, there's no going back. You've basically you've lost that particular green space. So I would say, like, making sure that we are looking at the biodiversity, looking at the wildlife and the flora and fauna that are in that area, making sure that we are protecting our waters as we develop out.
From Atul Chauhan.
My take on this is we need to actually have a very careful look at the development when it comes to in context with climate and environment. When it comes to land development, my take is we need to have a balance of commercial, residential development along with preservation of green spaces. all around the Calgary, specifically in Ward 3, I would say, we are having some development plans, but we need to take care of the preservation of the green spaces, which can have, I would say, it should not impact the sustainable thing. And when it comes to waste management and water conservation, I would say right now we are having 22% leakage in the water system we have in Calgary, which is resulting in millions of dollars of deficit. We need to have a proper water utility structured like we have NMAX here in Calgary. So,
From Rajesh Angral.
I think I am very much pro-environmentalist. Basically, I love to do more. That's why recently I signed a pledge of tree plant so that we need to grow more and more trees over here, which we are lagging behind. Even Ward 3 is very much behind the other wards. So I signed that pledge. And other than that, we need to make more regional parks and wetlands, and so that the harmony between the all kind of ecosystem, we can keep it balanced there. So I think I am very much into that, so that environmental control. And because this quadrant of the city is about 3, is a north quadrant, all the time within 3-4, I have seen 3 hails on my properties in the last few years. So I am very well aware about this thing, whatever is happening with the climate change and all. So I think we need to focus on that one as well.
From Danny Ing.
In land development, I mean, it's the responsibility of the developer to maintain a big balance with the environment. Because, I mean, face it, you don't want to live in a concrete jungle. No one does, and it's no fun, right? So for the health of people too, I mean, you know, and families, they need a park space, they need that kind of thing to represent or to just get out. And developers play a crucial role, because if they don't blend in the environment with the buildings themselves and make it comfortable, then it's a concrete jungle, right?
On education. While education is largely a provincial responsibility, how do you see the city collaborating with school boards to support accessible and quality education in your ward? From Suraj Shah.
One of the things is that I was very initially, especially starting in 2019, an advocate for a high school in north central Calgary especially when I was a high school student. One of the things that I was facing an issue was, it was just difficult to have access to transit in order to get to the high schools that, I was attending. And the only high schools that were there, that were connected to me as a high schooler was just, would take me 20, 30, 40 minutes just to get to my school, especially on a snow day. Those things are barriers, right? And so luckily, one of the things we've seen is that because of some efforts from primarily from the provincial government and also from the community at large, we've seen that a high school luckily was built in north central Calgary, a site that was already there and established for the last 30 years. They were saying we're going to build a high school here, and just now they decided that we're going to build a high school over the last couple of years. And so this is where the role of city council has a very, very critical piece, is understanding, first of all, what are the community needs? Do we need more middle schools? Do we need more elementary schools? Do we need more high schools that are there? The high school that we currently have, North Trail High School, is already above capacity.
From Andrew Ewell.
Yeah, I mean, that comes up. A lot of people don't know where the lines are drawn with responsibilities, and luckily for me, I had experience getting the North Trail High School built, and understanding the process with the CBE and the province, and it's really a collaboration. And even with the city, like you take, for example, North Trail High School. The high school itself is, provincially run, but the fields that they use next to them are city run. And so it's making sure that we do have that communications channel open to province, to CBE, making sure that we are utilizing all these resources. And there's some connected facilities or close by facilities like Vivo for us in North Central Calgary that trying to build more partnerships between schools and other organizations. That would be my job as a counselor, to make sure that we are making those proper connections.
From Atul Chauhan.
Thank you for saying and clarifying that it is a provincial responsibility, but when it comes to ward and the city council, every resident is asking this question to, I believe, to every candidate who goes out for door knocking. Definitely, we need to have more schools at a faster pace. It does not come under a counselor's domain, but as a counselor, I would say, as a council, we can work more proactively with the province to get those schools at an earlier speed. And definitely when it comes to having the schools in the areas where they are needed the most, those can be pushed to the priority list at a higher level. And if it comes to the priority list, those areas can get the schools more quickly. And I have been talking to a lot of people. Definitely, this is a big concern.
From Rajesh Angral.
Education is the main reason. That's why we moved to. We were in Northeast before, and then after moving few years ago, when I learned Northwest is having a better opportunity or connectivity going to the university, because my son is most probably going next year coming to University of Calgary, and we want to make sure all the schools and universities having a sufficient funding from the university provincial government, as well as a city. We support those agendas and make nicer roads and transit, so that connectivity is there, so that young people can come from my ward, especially because the ward 3 I am talking about, we have a better connectivity coming to ward 3 to the universities. Either it's a University of Calgary or Mount Royal or SAIT, all wherever our kids are going, they should have a better connectivity going there.
From Danny Ing.
Overcrowding is a big issue. Overcrowding in the schools, we would need to work together with the school board and try to also work with the provincial government to expand schools. I mean, get more rooms, temporary be it, right, mobile homes or mobile structures to get more classrooms. That could be one of the ways that we do such a thing. In terms of the education process, I mean, we got to work with all of the schools or the trustee to identify these type of issues, right?
Before we continue, I want to take a quick moment to address something from my interview with Suraj Shah. After we wrapped up our conversation, I realized I had missed this next question. However, I reached out to him after, and he was kind enough to send a written response via email. With his permission, I'm going to read the question for you, followed by his written answer, so you still get to hear his perspective. On arts and culture. How will you support local arts and culture as part of Calgary's identity? From Suraj Shah. I believe arts and culture are essential to Calgary's identity, not just as a source of creativity, but as a driver of connection, community, and economic vibrancy. I'll support long-term, stable funding for local artists, cultural organizations, and community-led programming, especially in underrepresented areas like North Calgary that have historically received less investment. As councillor, I'll advocate for integrating arts into public spaces, supporting Indigenous and multicultural storytelling, and making it easier for grassroots creators to access city grants and venues. Whether it's murals, performances, festivals, or heritage preservation, local arts deserves to be a part of every conversation about what kind of city we're building. Arts and culture don't just reflect who we are, they shape who we become. I'll be a champion for a city that invests in both. From Andrew Ewell.
I guess for me, when it comes to arts, it's like I do want to promote the local Calgary artists that we have here. It's such a amazing group, so when I look at funding for the arts, it's like I do want to make sure that our local artists are getting a look at first. We're also making sure that groups that are wanting art in their communities aren't held up by red tape. Because I think if anybody else took the year that we took to try and get this mural through all this red tape, some people might give up, and then we're lacking in like community vibrancy, and that's what I'm hoping to bring from my experience when it comes to local arts.
From Atul Chauhan.
My vision is to support the entire cultural ecosystem and ensure all Calgarians have access to high quality recreation. One of the key initiatives I have planned is investing in artists, not just institutions. For example, increasing funding to Calgary Arts Development and create more affordable studio space, funding recreation and libraries. We need to work more for the arts, where an artist feels that they are being supported by the council, irrespective of the size of the group they are in or the scale of the organization they are attached to. Every artist is, I would say, every artist needs proper recognition and proper support. As a counselor, I will try to push for more funding, more investment in the artist, not just institution.
From Rajesh Angral.
Calgary's regional park, basically Prairie Winds Park, maybe you know, in the northeast, and I was one of the community member out of 3. Those were chosen by the City of Calgary team to decide the public art project. And so we choose that part, and if you go to the hill, you can see that beautiful part. Art project is chosen by including me out of the community event. That much I love the art, as well as other than that, they asked me to be part of the grand opening while redesigning and everything happened. And moreover, I am also into many arts and culture activities. I started 15 years ago almost Bhangra competition, Bhangra Flame, and then we did the Vaisakhi Melas, Culture Fest, Bollywood Nights, and there are many other events which I did it from the last 15 years to. That's why Global TV did success story on me, so that I am promoting my culture and connecting with the other communities as well.
From Danny Ing.
Oh, I would work with the Calgary Arts, CADA, to develop some programs. And what we would do is make murals, or do various arts installations in the area, and identify that with CADA or other organizations. We've done that, in Chinatown. We work with artists, commission them, and we place big murals. And from when I'm sitting on the board there, that's what we've done. We could do similar things like that. And parks art, that would be a great way to work with them and give them a venue to do that type of thing.
On community. In what ways do you try to give back to your community? From Suraj Shah.
Community building is something that one of the things that I've seen, at least within City Council, is that we haven't really seen a lot of work, across the board, not necessarily for being critical of specific councillors, but we haven't seen a lot of work, of actual groundwork within the communities as a whole. And so this is where one of the things that I would work on and focus on is just being very locally active within Ward 3 as a whole. And what that means is bringing a level of vibrancy within suburban neighborhoods, right? What that means is really being that person who is bridging those gaps between community organizations and actual, the the actual resident of the neighborhood, themselves. So this is where I would, support smaller initiatives. For example, doing some festivals or events that we would primarily only see within the downtown or the inner city area. Bring that to North Calgary. Bring some of those vibrant events to North Calgary. See what we can do. See what we can accommodate. Within our neighborhoods, because as we grow and as we develop, I think it's very, very important for us for our suburban neighborhoods especially, not just to be siloed and to be isolated from the community as a whole, but rather to have some more initiatives that we can do.
From Andrew Ewell.
This is my next level of advocating is I want to become the Ward 3 councillor to be that community advocate. When I was an advocate in the community, all I wanted was a councillor that would raise my community voice and the causes that I'm working on. And that's what I want to be as a councillor. And so I want to make sure that I'm lifting the voices of the community associations and the community groups like Nose Creek Preservation Society, because they know what is needed in their communities. And I think it's just a matter of needing some help at City Hall to navigate all the bureaucracy and the red tape, and so that we can get some stuff done in North Central Calgary.
From Atul Chauhan.
I would say if we are being a responsible citizen, if we are obeying the laws, if we are paying our taxes on time, if we are taking care of our environment, if we are looking after our neighbors, our family members, if we are being considerate about the city as our own home, I consider that is the best way to give back to the community. Whatever a person has, any kind of skill, any kind of experience, if we use it towards the development of our city and our community, I say it's the best approach for giving back to the community, which is a moral responsibility for every citizen.
From Rajesh Angral.
That's very good question. Actually, I sometimes I think how I can contribute more to my community, and my friends and my well-wishers, they said you are already doing a lot, because I am one of the guy who started with nothing and created big events for our community, connecting them among each other, because in our families we have a big family. Sometimes it's not good. You can't invite 2-3 families together to your home because it's a lot of money and you have to feed them food and other things. But that's why I created the events. Again, Vaisakhi Mela Culture Fest Boli, where they are coming free indoor to places and they are meeting with the other family members and enjoying their life, and kids are enjoying. So I don't know why, but I am doing it free entry events from last so many years, and I am very much, people always ask me why you are not putting ticket on that. It's such a nice performance, everything is there and promoting so much culture. So, but I love doing it for community.
From Danny Ing.
I sit on the board for the Calgary Dragon Boat Society. I've been on as a chair for the last 16 years. So we brought it up from almost nothing to now a big festival that is like known through Western Canada and Canada. We're a premier destination sport for dragon boat community. In Chinatown, I've assisted and sat on the board and helped create and founded the Chinatown BIA. And through that, we've done the Chinatown Street Festival, we've done the Lantern Festival. We partner with the local associations to make Chinatown safe. We make it beautiful and make it a destination for all. So we market Chinatown in that way. So we could do that same thing in our ward, Ward 3.
We note that Indigenous groups have their own bodies of governance, but as we are on shared land, we dedicated a question to decolonization. What is your understanding of Calgary's responsibilities under the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action? From Suraj Shah.
I mean, the first piece is to actually understand what our Indigenous neighbors as well as our community members are looking for. when it comes to reconciliation within Calgary as a whole. And what that means is that we have to understand whether it comes to areas of and oftentimes it's something that we overlook is when it comes to city development, when it comes to areas of transit growth, when it comes to all of these issues that we're facing as a whole, there is a colonial element to them. That means that our communities oftentimes, that especially those who come from more marginalized backgrounds, are still more isolated within within our communities, especially within Calgary. And so that's kind of where I would like to take an active approach, speak with some of our community leaders, speak with our elders, and to understand what are they looking for when it comes to decolonization within our community. What does that look like when it comes to practical terms? Oftentimes we see a lot of rhetoric that is across the board, which I agree with, in terms of decolonization when it comes to reconciliation, a lot of these areas, but we actually don't see a lot of practical action that is being taken place. And so that's kind of where connection with our Indigenous leaders, connection with our communities across the board to understand, hey, like what are the areas that you're looking to decolonize? How can we take actually take those steps to decolonize some of those things? And oftentimes it comes down to reducing barriers.
From Andrew Ewell.
The Nose Creek Valley is rich with First Nations history that I never knew about. I grew up here. I grew up in Ward 3 and had no idea of like who lived down in this valley. Over the last decade, I've looked at different newspaper articles of First Nations asking for the recognition in some of these areas and not getting anywhere. And so it really irks me that we are when we do, we got to match our actions with our words. So if we are having land acknowledgements, like that's great, but you got to marry that land acknowledgement to some action in some of the decisions being made. So I definitely will, as a councillor, reflect on the meeting's morning land acknowledgement when making decisions that affect historical resources that are on traditional territories.
From Atul Chauhan.
I think we have a very big responsibility for truth and reconciliation. I consider reconciliation as an ongoing process of action, listening, and partnership, focused on embedding Indigenous perspectives directly into the city's planning and service delivery. As an initiative, I would say we need to integrate more Indigenous voices. We need to create formal spaces for Indigenous leaders and community members to have a direct role in city planning and decision making. We can also partner on housing and services with Indigenous communities, working with Indigenous organizations to develop and fund culturally appropriate housing and support services for the growing urban Indigenous population can be one of the ways. When we talk about Indigenous communities, I have a very, very deep respect for our Indigenous communities because they are the ones who actually framed this or who were instrumental in developing the city at the earlier stage, and we can definitely combine our ideas with their experience and knowledge of the land to make Calgary a better place.
From Rajesh Angral.
Yeah, truth and reconciliation is very important. We all need to recognize it because we are on Treaty 7 land, and people did a lot of sacrifices for us, basically because no one know how someone can be so rude or so criminal to kill young children and all, and we need to bring those things out. And I do my fair share by whenever I got opportunity to bring Aboriginal community members to my events or promoting them, whatever the way I can do. Even I have a Airbnb where recently I got opportunity to host some of the Aboriginal members, and I make sure they give me 5 rating, so that I make them beyond my expectation, beyond their expectation. I accommodate them and help them so that they have a better stay there for longer or smaller. And so I am feeling good about myself, I am contributing whatever the way I can do.
From Danny Ing.
Well, we're not the first settlers in North America. It was the indigenous people. So we need to respect that. One the ways to respect that is to work with them, to volunteer with them. I volunteer on the Aboriginal Awareness Week Committee. We host a family day powwow every June on the National Indigenous Day, and we promote all the artisans and crafts and have a powwow, and I help them do all the communications and websites. I also work with Circle of Wisdom to work with, and they provide services for the elders. So that, I think, is one of the things that we need to do, is just work with them and respect them.
Finally, we gave each candidate a moment to share any closing remarks. From Siraj Shah.
Well, the reason why I chose to run to begin with is one of the things that I found is that we have a lack of young principled leadership across the board within not just the city of Calgary, but really across the country. And this is where I would say that Ward 3 is the start of something that is much bigger, to say, hey, we have, as communities, we have power. We have power to make changes that we would like to see. We have power to make smart, effective development, and really my focus and really my brand, if you will, is really that we want to have leadership that is active. We don't just want to have leadership that is just simply reactive band-aid to some of our problems that we're facing. We need to be a little bit more active. We need to look a little bit beyond just the 4-year term that we're looking at. We need to look the next 15, 20 years in terms of what our communities needs. And because of my professional experience, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in advocacy and otherwise, I feel I have the experience and I'm ready to be a city councillor and actually come in and actually make some of those changes and make some of those impacts. So final message is very simple. I'm excited for this campaign. This campaign is bringing so many people together. It's uniting so many communities across the board within not just Ward 3, but across the city.
From Andrew Ewell.
I want to be that local community voice that can just share my experience of a generation of these holes, of these needs that we've had for decades, and hopefully get some traction. I think it's been tough. We've had 3 different councillors over the last 3 terms, so it's hard to build that consistency moving forward. And so hopefully from my experience, I can bring some consistency and push some of these big items forward to make sure that we get some decent transit in North Central Calgary, that we get a regional park in Ward 3, and that we can really just enjoy living in Ward 3, because we do have a lot of seniors that have been there since the beginning and want to age in place. But in order to do that, we need to kind of build up these communities a little bit better, and I feel like I can be that voice to do it.
From Atul Chauhan.
Thank you again for having me today. It's been a real pleasure to be on CJSW, and I really thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I appreciate your efforts in bringing the voices to Calgarians. To everyone listening in Ward 3 and Calgary, this election isn't just about politics. It's about us, our families, and the future we want to build together. I'm running because I want to be your counselor who listens, who shows up, who puts you first. Whether it's safer streets, better local services, or more recreational spaces close to home, I believe Ward 3 deserves strong representation at City Hall. So my ask is simple. Go out and vote. Your voice truly matters, and together we can make Ward 3 the very best place to live, work, and raise a family. On October 20th, polling day, kindly vote for Atul Chauhan. I'm the councillor candidate for Ward 3, and I will also request you to vote for Mr. Brian Thiessen, the mayoral candidate of the Calgary Party. Calgary Party is here to listen and be your voice. I'm honored to have your support. Thank you.
From Rajesh Angral.
My priorities are for Ward 3 are basically safe, accessible, customer-focused transit with 2024 route ahead annual status report, what we learned from there. Then affordable growth with game plan, engaged leadership, and growing Ward 3's economy by putting more things there under the NATO CNP area structure plan, where we'll be having a 57 new jobs, and then regional park, dog park, and so that we can balance the environment and enhance quality over there. So other than that, I love promoting the affordable homes and integration of airport connector alignment in this area. So one more thing, the last point what I want to add is business improvement area, which we are lagging behind in Ward 3. Out of 15 business improvement areas, there is none in the Ward 3.
From Danny Ng.
First, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your radio station. This is my first time in a political world of, trying to answer these questions, so it was kind of tough for me. But I do say that, I'm willing to learn, willing to listen and work together to try to solve things. This is your community, which means it's my community. So, working together is one of the key things to empower Ward 3. And if we can empower Ward 3 together, we can get a lot of the basics done, improved, and I look forward to supporting and hopefully and honored to earn your support and vote. So thank you.
That wraps up our conversations with your ward candidates. We hope their insights help you feel more informed heading into the 2025 general election. Now, we're shifting our focus to another important group of elected officials, school board trustees. Trustees play a critical role in shaping the direction of public education. They're responsible for setting priorities, approving budgets, and making decisions that impact students, families, and communities across their school jurisdictions. While their work often happens behind the scenes, it has a direct effect on the quality of education in Calgary. Just like councillors, trustees are elected during the municipal election. To find out which board you vote for, whether it's the Calgary Board of Education, Calgary Catholic School District, or another publicly funded board, you can visit electionscalgary.ca and use the Where Do I Vote tool. We reached out to all nominated trustee candidates running in this ward, inviting them to participate in this podcast. The interviews you're about to hear include only those candidates who responded and were available within our production timeline. To keep things fair and concise, we've selected about 1 minute from each candidate's response. The audio is presented unedited, and we've done our best to ensure every participant's voice is clearly and accurately represented. Let's now hear from the trustee candidates running in this ward. What are your top 3 priorities for Calgary schools, and how do you plan to address them during your term? Running in the Calgary Catholic School District for Wards 3 and 5, Terry Thuo.
Oh, thank you so much, Camille, and thank you so much for having me today. It's a privilege to be here. I'm glad. And to answer your question, the top 3 priorities that I have to achieve when I'm a Calgary Catholic School District Board of Trustee, one of them is to retain our faith and to focus on our student is the second, and the third, it's our staff, and to unite all the necessary components in the district.
How will you ensure equitable access to quality education for students across all communities, including those from marginalized or underserved backgrounds? From Terry Thuo.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that is that's one issue that the district have. Because of the funding, we find that the class sizes are of overcrowded, and the teachers, they are understaffed. So that is one of the things that we need to tackle, more help for the teachers and also more funding especially from the government.
How will you engage with parents, teachers, and students, and the broader community to ensure transparency and responsiveness in decision-making? From Terry Thuo.
Thank you, Kamal, for that question, because this is a job that everyone has to be involved. It involves students, it involves teachers, and also the community at large. And as a new immigrant to Canada, I know how important that is, especially communication, because some of the things get lost in the translation. It doesn't mean that people don't speak English. You could speak English, but also the culture is different. Right now, we have many new immigrants in our schools, like from Ukraine, from Nigeria, from other parts of the world, and we need to work on that, and I'm here to bridge that gap.
What is your position on the role of schools in addressing issues such as mental health, inclusion, and anti-racism? How would you support initiatives in these areas? From Terry Thuo.
Thank you again, Kamal. And that's a very good question because it touches me personally in many areas, and I can speak for most parents and students as a person of faith, and I am blessed to be a Catholic. And in the Catholic school, we just have to follow the model of Jesus Christ, because in our Catholic faith, we are supposed to treat others as we would want to be treated. So no one is left out.
With ongoing concerns about education funding and class sizes in Alberta, how will you advocate for the resources schools need while working within budget constraints? From Terry Thuo.
Thank you, Kamal. Yeah, there is so much restriction on the funding in the Catholic school district typically, and that's something we are trying to work with the government, because it's very sad every spring when you hear about the budget allocations and how much funds we are receiving from the government. That's something really they should look into it, and especially in the areas of disabilities, because we have a lot of needs there and we need help, and we need more people to be able to help the teachers and students.
Is there anything else you want people to know? From Terry Thuo.
Yes, thank you so much, Kamal. I would like people to know that in Catholic school district education, if you choose me to be your candidate, I will be there advocating for new immigrants, for people of faith, for people who are here, because in the Catholic school district, we don't view that you're new or you're old. We are all the children of God, and we are made in the image of God. And that's what helps us to be who we are as Catholic school district.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of CJSW's Municipal Election Coverage. I hope today's conversation brought you a little closer to your community and the people who want to lead it. I'm your host, Emma, and all of the source material for this episode can be found in the episode description. Remember to visit electionscalgary.ca for more information on every candidate and to check your voter registration. Again, we would like to remind listeners that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the candidates and the interview subjects, and not those of CJSW or its staff. Also be sure to visit cjsw.com or the CJSW app to check out our voter education episode and our exclusive mayoral debate. Until then, take care. And please vote, follow, and share.